Hi guys and welcome. Today we're going to talk about the most common question I get during the summer, and that is, how can I make my garden maintenance free? Now the easy answer to that is actually you can't. But there are a lot of things you can do to make it more maintenance free than you have today. And one thing is that you can use some ground cloth. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the thing I loathe the most in my garden is to go around and picking weeds. So the ground cloth can actually help you with that. Now, I'm going to show you in my own garden how I have used ground cloth to make it more maintenance free. And we're going to go over here and see where I have put some stones down to make a next to our house. And that is actually because you should never plant something next to your house, because the roots can make problems to the foundation of the house. So what you can do is that you can put some ground cloth and actually add stones on top of it, and you can use any type of stone you want to. It's just your own imagination that sets the limits. But when you do this, how should you do this? Well, you need to take out the soil for approximately 10 centimeters down, and then you add the ground cloth. Now I'm going to dig this out. This part of the garden here has actually been sitting like this for 5 or 6 years. So I have never taken the stones out here. But here you can find the ground cloth sitting approximately 10 centimeters down into the soil. Now you add the ground cloth on top of the soil, and then you add the stones. Now we're going to talk a little bit later about which type of ground cloth you should use, because there are the right kind and the wrong kind. This is actually the right kind, and as you can see, it's been laying down here for 5 or 6 years, and nothing has happened to it. It hasn't devolved, it hasn't been compromised in any way. What has happened here is that you actually have some soil here. Now, the reason you can probably see are a lot of ants here. Now, they have added this much soil on top of the ground sheet. However, they're always going to get some soil onto this, and it's the wind that takes it. It's small pieces in the wind that are going to land here and get down to the ground cloth. So after a couple of years you can get problems by, like this, some type of weed can actually find this soil that has been taken there by the wind and grow. But the difference between picking a weed in normal soil and picking a weed that has been growing in this is that you just have to draw it straight up, and you get all of the roots, and you have no problem with it coming back. So everything is gone in once, and you saw how easy it was. So even after 6 years, I maybe pick 10 to 15 of these every season. It's not more than that. But what you can do, if you want to, after a couple of years, you can actually take out the stones and see to it that the ground cloth and remove all the soil that is laying on top. Replace the ground cloth again and put on the stones, and then you begin from the beginning. You don't have to have stones. Like I said, this is only what you want to have. In another place in the garden, I actually have another type of material. Now here I have done the same thing. I have added a ground cloth and then I have put some bark on top of it. Now this is because I have this together with all of my vegetables, and usually I want to go out and the children wants to go out to this part of the garden without any shoes on. So it's a little bit easier to walk barefoot in bark than it is in stone. You could use anything. You could use wood chips, or you could use smaller rocks and not as big rocks as if you want to. You could actually use bigger rocks as well. However, the bigger the rock you use, the deeper down you have to dig before you lay your ground cloth. Otherwise, you're going to see the ground cloth. You don't want to see it through the holes in between the stones. But usually 10 centimeters is enough to dig down before you lay your ground cloth. Now, picking the right type of cloth is actually the most important thing. And what is the wrong kind and what is the right kind? Well, I have both of them here. And this is the wrong kind. Both of them can actually be bought in the store for this type of use. It's to be used in the garden and to put over the soil and then have to have stones or bark or something on top of it. And what it means is that it's going to keep the weeds from coming up under the cloth, but it's going to let the rain go through the cloth so that you have water to your plants that you want to have in the garden. However, this cloth has a material that is kind of like some sort of normal cloth that you have maybe in your clothes, some kind of cotton-like material, and it actually breaks quite easily. Now, if I can break it this easily, the weeds in your garden are going to do the same thing. Now, if we move over to the right kind of ground cloth, this is actually made of some kind of plastic material and not some kind of cotton cloth. And it's small strips of plastic that has been woven together. Now, this is extremely strong. I cannot break it. And if I can't break it, the weeds can't break it. But it has the same function as the other one. It keeps the weed from going through it, but it lets the water go through the cloth. And also the nutrients, of course. If you mix the nutrients together with the water and then water your plants, they're also going to go through the ground cloth. So the right kind of ground cloth is actually a type of plastic if you want it to last for a lot of years. Now, putting the ground cloth down where you want to keep the weeds out, perhaps you also want to have some sort of a flower growing in this part of the garden. For instance, a rose. Now, the simple way is just to dig out the 10 centimeters that we talked about, where you want to cover the ground. Then you add the cloth. And then you choose where you want to have your rose. And when you have a spot for it, you just cut out an X in the cloth. Like this. Now you can access the soil underneath, in this case the lawn, the grass, and you can dig out your hole and plant your rose. Now when you're done and the plant is finished, you can just put down the pieces of cloth around it. It's going to be maybe like this. And then when you're finished, you just add the stones or the bark or the wood chips, whatever you prefer, on top of it. And this will make this part of the garden quite maintenance free. The only thing you have to do is maybe pick some weeds that are going to use the soil that is coming on top of the ground cloth. That's it. So this is making your entire garden a little bit more maintenance free. I hope you've enjoyed this movie, and we're going to make more videos on how to make your garden more maintenance free. So please watch them, and if you have any questions or if there anything you want us to take and show you in a video, please don't hesitate to write to us in the commentary section. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you, Philip. Hej då!